Hello, everyone. My name is Julia and my partner is Madison. We're doing our campaign on gender affirming care and why access to healthcare is important to gender diverse youth.
Before we discuss why access to gender affirming care is so important, I wanted to briefly touch on what exactly gender affirming care is. Gender affirming care refers to medical and psychological services that are provided in order to align a person's outer characteristics with their gender identity. It also assists individuals in understanding gender and sexuality. This encompasses services that range from taking hormones and hair removal to gender affirming procedures in which a person's genitals are surgically altered. Discrimination against gender diverse individuals riddles the current healthcare system, which in turn complicates or completely prevents trans individuals from seeking care. Now, why is access to this type of care so important? Research indicates that transgender and non-binary youth experience depression, anxiety, and suicide ideation at a much higher rate than their cisgender counterparts. Results from the Trevor Project's national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health illustrated that of young individuals who identify as transgender or non-binary, 54% had seriously considered suicide in the year prior, and 29% had already attempted suicide. 76% of the sample felt that recent politics impacted their mental health or sense of self. 47% of the sample received psychological or emotional counseling from a mental health professional. This analytic sample was comprised of 25,896 LGBTQ youth in the United States. This data illustrates just how important medical and psychological treatment is for this group of young individuals.
Not having access to gender affirming care can lead to stigma and healthcare avoidance. Healthcare avoidance leads to a greater risk of poor mental health outcomes and can lead to individuals receiving unsafe treatments. Individual stigma negatively impacts transgender and gender nonconforming youth as they have a fear of being seen as different, which can lead to healthcare avoidance. Interpersonal stigma can occur in a school setting. One survey conducted with transgender students in the United States showed that 75% reported feeling unsafe at school, 25% reported being physically harassed, and 12% reported being physically assaulted. One study showed trans-masculine adolescents demonstrated the most healthcare avoidance compared to trans-feminine and non-binary adolescents. It's important to note that access to care differs depending on where you live. For example, in California, lawmakers approved a bill to protect those receiving or providing transgender healthcare from prosecution, making California the first sanctuary state for transgender traveling patients seeking care. While in Alabama, it is a felony to provide best practice medical care for transgender youth.
Now we will discuss some prevention and wellness strategies to improve the health outcomes of the population of interest. The first strategy is simple: to educate ourselves and others. This can be done by providing educational materials that discuss where to receive care, as well as working to fight against stigma and normalize conversations that may feel uncomfortable or taboo to discuss. The Trevor Project results show that LGBTQ youth disclose their sexual orientation and gender identity to their friends at the highest rates, but are also disclosing to adults in their lives. However, gender identity for those identifying as transgender and non-binary is disclosed at lower rates than sexual orientation for those not identifying as straight. This illustrates the importance of fighting stigma in hopes that gender diverse youth may feel more comfortable disclosing their gender identities to those surrounding them. The second is to schedule that first appointment. Making the leap can often feel scary or overwhelming, but research has shown that successfully obtaining gender-affirming care leads to an overall improvement in the mental health and well-being of non-binary, transgender, and gender-diverse children. This indicates just how important it is to take that leap and make the appointment. Lastly, is to start the necessary treatment. Receiving the correct form of gender-affirming care that is appropriate for the patient, including the initiation of puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones, was associated with changes in depression, anxiety, and suicidality. This shows how important it is for individuals to successfully obtain the care that they're seeking.
Our campaign will be conducted with middle schools and high schools in the San Diego Unified School District. There will be a total of 41 middle schools and 33 high schools involved in the study. This will ensure we get enough information from as many schools as possible. 2 classrooms from each school will be randomly chosen to participate. One classroom will be the experimental group and will take the pre-test, watch the short educational video, and take the post-test. The other classroom will be the controlled group and will only take the post-test. The test will be anonymous to make students feel safe, and we hope this will encourage students to be honest. Within the test, we will be asking students demographic questions, including their gender pronoun preference, their grade, and their age. We understand that many students may not want to answer a lot of survey questions, which is why we are choosing to have students answer 3 open-ended questions and 1 yes or no question for the pretest before watching the educational video. These questions include, do you know what gender affirming care is? Do you know at least one resource in San Diego County that offers gender affirming care services? What are 2 types of services the Center for Gender Affirming Care at Rady Children's Hospital offer? And do you know anyone who would be interested in gender affirming care services? As mentioned before, those who are in the experimental group will watch the educational video. We knew students can lose interest very quickly, which is why the educational video is only 5 minutes long. In this short video, we will educate students about gender affirming care, statistics from the Trevor Project, which were mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, and they will also learn about resources available to them or someone in need. These resources include the Center for Gender Affirming Care at Rady Children's Hospital, which offers services such as comprehensive gender assessment, monthly support groups, referrals for ongoing outpatient therapy and/or psychiatric treatment, gender affirming vocal therapy, referrals for hair removal, and much more. Students will also learn about an organization called Stomp Out Bullying. This organization's mission revolves around working to reduce and prevent bullying, cyberbullying, and other digital abuse, educating against homophobia, LGBTQ discrimination, racism and hatred, and deters violence in schools, online, and in communities across the country. According to this organization, 9 out of 10 LGBTQ+ students reported being harassed and bullied last year, which is why this organization is mentioned during this short video. Lastly, students will be educated about the CDC's website as it provides information about LGBT youth resources. Their website offers facts for teens and parents, information to websites about including Stomp Out Bullying, the Trevor Project, and Gender and Sexualities Alliance Network. And on this page, students can also find information regarding several projects, such as It Gets Better Project and Q Card Project. And lastly, the post-test. Both the experimental and controlled group will take the post-test, and the post-test will include the same questions from the pre-test.
Now, how exactly will the outcomes of this campaign be assessed? As we will be using a pre-test post-test design, the control group, as mentioned, will not be watching the intervention video. This allows us to observe the impact that the video has on the group who does watch it. The results from the pre- and post-test surveys will be uploaded into SPSS, where they will be coded and analyzed within the software. Once analyzed, the now coded pre-test post-test results will be assessed in order to determine how successful the intervention was. Assessing the outcome of this campaign will help establish the next steps necessary to work towards the goal of eliminating stigma and improving access to gender-affirming care. Listed here are the references that we used throughout the progression of this presentation. Please feel free to reach out with any questions regarding the material presented today. Thanks so much for your time.